Greg Franke welcoming you into another edition of BCSN Sports Flash, where we talk to a lot of the current and former athletes that we followed on BCSN to see what they're up to these days. And we have a very interesting guest tonight in David Hoops, former tennis player for Perrysburg, and now has been really big into maybe the fastest growing sport in America and the world in Quidditch. So we're going to hear a little bit about how you transition from tennis to Quidditch and how that sport has been growing the way it has. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Now, I remember your name from way back. Your sister, I think, was one of the first players that we ever covered on BCSN back around 2004. And I believe she went on and played some college tennis at Dayton. And you were telling me how she sort of fell into a science career, which is something that's quite unusual there. And then you came along a little bit after, and you had your other brother was a very good golfer. So basically, that was sports was just something that kind of ran in the family, I would guess.
Yeah, growing up, living out in Perrysburg, my parents would say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's no TV on. There's no playing the computer. We have a big yard in the backyard.
That's cruel and unusual punishment, right?
It definitely was at that time, but I definitely appreciate it now, being able to develop as many different sports as I did. Me and my brother especially, we would play golf in our backyard all the time. We'd throw baseballs at each other. We'd swim in our pond. Just had a very active lifestyle from a very young age.
So you played tennis at Perrysburg, and you were there, and you were the number one player, and a very good number one player. And then you happened to be there at a time when kind of a phenom came along in Jeffrey Shorshu. I think when he was 10 years old, he was the top player in the country. He won the Little Mo tournament, won a couple of years. And but I'm sure having a player on that, you didn't mind at all having him being an addition to the team. Plus, you got to play with him doubles at States one year.
Yeah, having a player of that caliber decide to stay public and not go to St. John's or Notre Dame. Nothing against the kids who want to do that, because I understand
they're known to produce excellent tennis players, obviously.
Having him decide to stay at Perrysburg, which none of us were really sure if he was going to do, being able to have a player like him on our team was just an unbelievable experience, to not to be able to put so much pressure on myself and know that Jeff could take care of most of our matches.
Yeah, well, and he certainly could there. And I think one of the things, too, that had to be a benefit for you is hitting with him every day, practicing with him every day. Not too many guys get the opportunity to work out with somebody on that regular basis, somebody of that skill level, and I'm sure it helped improve your game by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, definitely. It reminded me a lot of growing up, having two older siblings that were better than me at every sport I played. I was always going to play and practice with somebody who was going to be able to teach me new things. And Jeff being on the team, even when he was a freshman and I was a junior, he was already in front of me developmentally as a tennis player. So being able to practice and hit with him constantly every single day definitely helped me improve as my high school career went on.
And certainly, in fact, we talked to Jeffrey about coming on, and hopefully we'll get a chance. He's playing Valparaiso as one of their top players, and hopefully have him on at a future time. But he went through a thing where he was like so good at such a young age, and it was almost like the expectations were so great. It was kind of a burden at a certain time, and I think maybe playing in a program like Perrysburg was good for him too.
Yeah, I think he really enjoyed playing with us. He was homeschooled as a kid growing up, and going to a public school, I think, for him was a bit of a shock at first. And I think he really, we loved having him on the team, just helping him, get used to a public life school, a public lifestyle, and everything like that.
Yeah. And then you guys played, as often happens in high school, or you'll play singles all season, but then two guys might combine to play doubles. And I thought that was great in a couple of respects. First of all, it gave you a chance to play at the state tournament, which you richly deserve that opportunity. And a guy like Jeffrey is willing to say, hey, I'll play doubles instead of the singles, which maybe is the more publicized part of it. But he was willing to do that for the team, and you guys made a very, very strong doubles team.
Yeah, my whole senior year, I knew that playing singles, trying to qualify for states, probably wasn't going to happen, seeing as Northwest Ohio only got two people. One of them was my teammates that I couldn't beat. And when he asked me right before the tournament started if I wanted to play doubles with him, I obviously didn't tell it to his face, but I was extremely excited that I would actually have a shot at going somewhere for once. And being able to partner with somebody who was very talented at a lot of the things that I wasn't talented as a tennis player, putting us on the court together as a doubles team, it is really tough to beat.
Yeah. So talk about your experience in Columbus there. How did you do there, and how did you sort of tailor your game to playing with a player like that?
Yeah. Playing with Jeff at the time, his sophomore year, it was kind of when he was still kind of just growing, as a kid. He was still probably only like 5'5" or 5'6", whereas I was as tall as I am now, 6'3". So I was the big right-handed server who would kind of just take up a lot of the court just by standing there. And Jeff was this little 5'5" ball of energy, left-handed.
He's taller now. But
Yeah, he's definitely grown now, and he's an imposing athlete nowadays. But back then, it was him just constantly moving all over the court, taking up a lot more space than what it looked like he was capable of doing. Going to states, we unfortunately had to play the eventual state champions in the first round. We gave them a really tough match. They ended up beating us. But just being able to say that I was able to get there really meant a lot to me, and I really appreciated him for giving me that chance.
Yes, no question about it. It says a lot for both of you guys, really. I remember when he was about 10 years old, he played in one of the early tournaments we covered. He played against a really good player in his upper 30s or whatever it was, and he lost the match. But he ran his opponent around so much, he had to back out of the finals because he was just wiped out.
He was well known for doing that, yeah.
Absolutely. So now how did the Quidditch thing all come about?
The Quidditch thing. I thought a little bit about playing tennis in college. I could have walked on to a few different schools or played Division II or III. Decided to go to Ohio State just because no one in my family had done it, and we're all big fans, so I figured one of us had to. My sister had told me about it when she was working an internship up in Boston, which at the time, this was probably 8 or 9 years ago now, that was one of the original Quidditch hotbeds. And she saw a group of people playing in a park there, and she told me that I was kind of athletic and kind of a nerd, so it would probably...
Not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, it would...
Given the fact it was a sibling talking to you.
Yeah, it was something that I would probably enjoy, and I knew that Ohio State had a team when I decided to go there. My first week on campus, I signed up for it, and I was kind of planning on playing on the Ohio State club tennis team and taking that seriously and doing Quidditch as just kind of a thing on the side. And 2 months into my freshman year, Ohio State is at the 5th annual World Cup in downtown New York City in front of 20,000 people playing matches under the lights against the top 5 team in the world. And that was definitely an experience I'd never got in tennis. It was something
even beyond getting to go to states at one time.
Yeah, something that I knew I wouldn't be able to do after I got out of college, or so I thought. So I decided I was just going to pick this new sport up and run with it.
Yeah, well, no question about it. And I've always said if they can ever figure a way to get those brooms to really fly, then they're going to have something for sure, like in the movie. But now you're kind of back into tennis, and I met you over at Perrysburg Tennis Center, and you're teaching and kind of starting to get back into that again.
Yeah, that's correct. I finished up my degree this past summer in sport management from Ohio State. I'm working a few different part-time jobs now in Toledo, just kind of looking for something to stick with full-time, and one of those things is teaching at Perrysburg Tennis Center. Been doing that about 2 months. It's been a really great experience. It's been good to get a racket back in my hands, switch it out with a broom, I guess.
So is there any cross-training benefits from Quidditch to tennis and vice versa?
There were a lot of things I think that tennis helped prepare me for in Quidditch. The game instincts, being able to read your opponent, is something that was really helpful. One of the things that tennis did not prepare me for in Quidditch was the full contact aspect of the game. Strangely enough, tennis players aren't really taught how to tackle very well. So that was something that took me a long time to learn. But it's definitely just been good to stay active while I was in college. And now that I'm getting back into tennis, I'm noticing that I'm in a lot better shape than I was afraid I might be after I graduated.
Yeah. Well, you just given me a brainstorm. Full contact tennis. That'd be an interesting sport.
If you can figure out a way to make it work, I'd love to play it.
All right. Well, yeah, you've certainly shown your game for doing a lot of different kind of things. Thanks a lot for being with us.
Yep. Thank you very much, Craig.
David Hoops, former outstanding tennis player for Perrysburg High School and Quidditch aficionado. And this is Greg Franke saying so long for another edition of BCSN Sports Flash.